Now we get to my favorite part, which I didn't. God. Just go. Meat. Yes. Fish. Shellfish. This is really boring. I'm sorry. Crab. I will dance while this is. And soy products. Huzzah. Okay, meat. So because it's so difficult to farm in, they don't really have a large amount of livestock. Most of their meat is imported, and they do raise some, the most well-known being Kobe beef, which, once again, we really can't get here in the States because it's hyper expensive. We have our, well, it's on the next slide, beef. There's a Kobe beef right there. That's the nice steak over there is one of the reasons why it's so lovely. All that fat, and as everybody knows, fat is flavor. So it comes from the Wagyu cattle, known for their marbling, which is what all that fat in the middle is. And so I was looking at this, and I don't quite know how that works, so just bear with me. But to be true Kobe beef, it has to be born in the Hyogo Prefecture, fed by a farm in the Hyogo Prefecture. I can't say that this morning. And this is one I don't know how I let that get in there, but how it comes from a castrated cow or a virgin, that doesn't really work. So, apparently they just spring from the earth. I'm a Wagyu cow. So, that must have been a late night slide. I really do apologize. It must be processed at a slaughterhouse in Kobe. I don't know how to pronounce that word, so I'm just going to let you guys read it. Yeah, so it has to have a marbling ratio called the BMS, the bovine marbling standard of level 6 or above, and that sounds like a lot. I don't know what their BMS is because I'm from America. Meat quality score is A or B. So it's on the same level as ours. It has to be prime or choice. And the cow has to be less than 470 kilograms, which is still a lot. That's half a ton. It's a big cow. They're not actually fed sake. It's kind of a misconception. But they are brushed lovingly every day and massaged so they relax and don't stress out, which is how they get all that wonderful fat in them. We do make Kobe beef here in America, but just like everything else, we steal the name and call it that. You know, obviously it can't be Kobe because we're not in Japan. And we try to follow the same standards. But we feed them a much lower quality of grass and grain, which doesn't give them quite the same marbling. Chicken. I love that picture of that chicken, by the way. It's so gorgeous. It makes me hungry just looking at it. Why? I love chicken. Who doesn't love chicken? I love chicken. Okay. So we all know chicken. Everything tastes like chicken because it's so mild flavored. And it's really easily influenced by how it's prepared. And so that's why it's one of the most popular meats used in Japan. They don't use it raw in sashimi usually because they have a lot of problems with avian flu. And so they've really taken to importing more of their chicken than trying to grow it. Or raise them. Just like the Wagyu cattle, chickens spring from the ground, fully formed and ready to be harvested. I'm really sorry, guys. I know this makes a lot of people sad, but yes, the Japanese eat horse, and they love horse. I haven't tried it. They eat horse in Italy too. It's one of those things that's kind of sad because a lot of older horses from out here in America will be shipped overseas and to slaughterhouses. So if you ever go over there and try horse, don't get cheap horse, because more than likely you're looking at a glue horse who's been illegally shipped out of the country, and yeah. So on to happier things, not really. They kind of have a light sweet flavor, and they're low in fat. And we just talked about the taboos. I think a lot of it is because horses really grew up here with this country, and everybody wants to be a cowboy at heart, right? Okay, we all want to be samurai because we're at an anime convention, but so they do call it sakuraniku. I can't pronounce that. Obviously from the cherry blossom and meat, because it's a light pink color. So they do like it as sashimi. It's kind of chewy, and they'll just dip it right in the soy sauce, much like any sushi they have out there. Although they'll also put it in shiso, and it's kind of a member of the mint family, which I'm guessing adds an interesting flavor to it. And I can't think of horse-flavored ice cream, but apparently they like it. So, look, pork. Yeah, no more Mr. Ed. I'm really sorry. That was a bad joke. And now I can't get the theme out of my head. Horse is a horse, of course, of course. And that's all the more I remember, of course, because that horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Yay! Okay. Thankfully, there's no music, and nobody wants to really hear me sing more because I'm rather tone deaf. So pork is one of the most widely used meats in the world, and they have evidence of its husbandry dating back as far as 5000 BC. We've been eating pork forever. And in Asia, most pork is actually preferred over beef because it's cheaper to produce, and they like the flavor. Yay! Fish! So, yes?
Let me ask you, have you ever tried making kosher Japanese food?
I haven't. I did do a lot of work in a kosher kitchen. We mostly use chicken or soy because you can't mix dairy and beef or dairy and meat. So we did some marinated tofu. We would do like tofu wraps and whatnot. And there's a really good teriyaki sauce out there by Mr. Yoshida's, which we always like to marinate our tofu in. So if you guys are ever looking for a good store-bought one, stay away from Kikkoman. It's gross. So, yeah, like I said, it's an archipelago, not an island. So it comes from fish. Everybody say hi, new people, yay! Amazingly, there's a large variety of fish that is harvested all around the nation. And yeah, they cook it or they serve it raw. You know, so flounder. Flounder's really hard to fillet. I ended up filleting a lot of it, and I'm kind of sick of it. But it's a flat fish, which means that unlike other fish, it swims on its side like this and has its eyeballs on the top of its head. Though interestingly, they start off swimming like this, and then they turn over and their eyeballs rotate from either side of their head and gravitate to each other. Yeah. Flounders are kind of an amazing fish. So it's really highly prized for its texture and delicate flavor, and you can get 4 distinct but very thin fillets out of the meat because you get 2 per side. Mackerel, kind of a large fin fish. You know, it swims upright with a pretty firm flesh and high fat content. Has a nice savory flavor, or umami. we're all just learning about umami here in the States, but they're starting to figure out that umami is actually the fifth taste that is produced by items with protein in it, which is why soy products even taste really good to us. They have that umami flavor, and it only makes sense because we need a lot of protein as human beings, so why wouldn't we be attracted to something with protein? All right. Yeah, so when mackerel are small, they're sold whole, and when they're larger, they are processed into fillets. Fillets. Salmon. That's a big freaking salmon, by the way. Or else it's a really short dude. I don't know.
It's a big fish.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. So they are anadromous. There we go. Maybe I got that right. That means that they live in the ocean and spawn in fresh water. Really high in vitamin A and B, and as everybody knows, the omega-3 fatty acids, which are really great for us because they help us fight cancers. So you should eat a lot of salmon. I'm not a big salmon fan, but I should eat more. So some of the king salmons, which maybe that's what that one was, can grow up to 120 pounds in size. That's gigantic. Tuna! Yes, he's hitting them with an axe. So they're really big and they're really fast. They've been clocked at up to 45 miles an hour in the open ocean. So I don't know how many knots that is, but it's a lot. Some of the yellowfin tuna has been measured up to almost 8 feet length and 50 pounds. So they outweigh the same. Japanese, because they're the largest farmers of it in the farmers. That doesn't work.
Actually, it does.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I guess that's true. Hey, I did good. Fugu! Did everybody watch that Simpsons episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Mostly because I love the idea of the Bible on audio tape. It just makes me laugh. What's that? Is it really? Wow. Is it like 803 hours long, or?
A lot more than 6 takes.
Yeah.
Different CDs. There's like about 20 CDs.
That makes sense. Yeah. So like 60 hours, but it is true. Fugu is very poisonous, but only if you puncture its poison sac, which is very tiny. And if you know what you're doing, which it usually takes a sushi master 50 years to master before they even allow them to think about cutting into the fugu. Yeah. So it's been eaten for about 2,300 years, and it was banned in Edo by the Tokugawa shogunate, and then became popular again when we forced them into the modern world. I don't know why, but it did. I'm not a big sardine fan, but a lot of people love them. So everybody knows they're small and oily, really kind of short, and sometimes they have their heads on them, which is gross. I don't like to look at my food and have it look back at me. And the very end of A Christmas Story pops into my head. Smiling at me. I'm sorry. All right. At least we're awake again. So I'm afraid I was boring you guys for a second. Everybody's kind of... Bueller. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? A few people? Yay! Okay. So most of them are canned in oil, and and any number of sauces, including tomato and mustard sauces. Although you can get them fresh off the coast during the summer months. Ooh, eel.
They're very tasty.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I had my first eel, gosh, maybe a month ago. It was pretty tasty. I liked it. I'm sorry? I heard something else, but...
Yeah, I said it's very sweet.
Yeah, that it is. Sorry, who said that? Oh, hi. So... At least I can laugh at my own jokes, so, you know. They eat both the freshwater and the saltwater eels, and some of them can reach up to 10 feet long and 170 pounds. I can't even imagine an eel that long. I don't want to meet it. They really don't last long because they're really fatty, so they go acrid just really quickly. So you should eat them within 2 days of your purchase. Yeah, and they're great in protein. Shellfish. God, I'm a huge shellfish fan. Not here in Colorado because we can't get good shellfish here. But
What about Rocky Mountain oysters?
no. As a male, out of general respect, I do not eat Rocky Mountain oysters. It's true. That's honestly why I don't eat them. It doesn't stop other people, but you know, it's a personal choice. So prawns are simply large shrimp. I don't know if that's an oxymoron or not. It might be. Really, the prawn is a term used for any shrimp that is large enough that they come 15 to a pound. And like salmon, they live in the ocean but migrate to fresh water to spawn. Squid! Squid is really good. I love squid. But as you all know, it's really easy to overcook, and then it kind of turns into shoe rubber. But we like to call it calamari. Yeah, it's chewy and sweet and delicious. And, you know, fresh squid should have that nice ocean smell. They shouldn't smell like fish. None of your fish should smell like fish. If they smell like fish, don't eat it. Yeah. So, you know, store your fresh squid in an airtight container and refrigerate it for no more than 2 days. Octopus. The tentacles are really chewy. I haven't had like the flesh from the body here, but I've had tentacles. Anybody else? A few? Yeah. Yeah, most of the time octopuses are not giant. They're only, you know, 1 to 2 feet wide from tentacle tip to tentacle tip, and about 3 pounds. So they love to eat scallops and clams, and that's why they taste so good. Kind of an acquired taste. And related to the squid, generally only the tentacles are consumed, and you can get them pre-dressed and frozen in the markets. I did see something not that long ago, maybe a year or so ago, where they would actually cut the suckers off of the tentacles, there we go, English. And then they poured like sake and something else in there to kind of tenderize it, and then you'd just munch away at them. And I don't know if I could do that, but maybe. I'm really willing to try a lot of different things. Sea urchin is not one that I've tried yet, though. Another acquired taste. It's rarely cooked, mostly because, well, there's not much to cook. They're just kind of a syrupy mess inside, and once you get past the spines. And they call it roe, but it's not eggs. It's just kind of that goo. So, yeah, what's that?
I'm just saying, move on.
Move on. Okay, moving on. Yeah. Nobody likes that picture, huh? Okay. Sorry about that. Scallops. I do like scallops. They're a bivalve mollusk, meaning they have 2 shells, which is pretty much everything. And they have that really distinct shell that everybody saw, and everybody kind of recognizes that when you think seashells. It's really highly prized and has a nice sweet flavor and kind of chewy, especially if you overcook it. Different colors, and you kind of want to watch out for the really stark white ones, because it just means they've been soaked in water and it's kind of pulled all of the flavor and nutrients and color out of the meat. Clams. So much good food. I'm really glad I stuffed myself at breakfast, because I'd be really hungry at this point. So clams have a very salty flavor. Should be reminiscent of the sea. And you want to make sure that they kind of squirt out a clear liquid. And if they're open, you just give them a good thunk on top of their shell. And if they don't close, do not eat them. You will most likely die. They are very toxic. They are one of those things that when they die, they emit a serious toxin that is very, very bad for us. You'll at least spend a couple of weeks in the hospital. So keep them alive. Oysters. I'm not an oyster fan. I don't know if anybody else is. You are? Okay. You are too, and you in the back. That's all right. I'll let you eat all of the oysters you want. It's the texture.
Are you just supposed to like swallow it?
Yeah, it's really much better to just close your eyes and think of the Pope or something. And
My brother was at Hawaii once. He's like, it was disgusting. I chewed it for like 10 minutes. You're not supposed to do that. That's why it's disgusting.
no, do not chew oysters. No. The spiny lobster, he's a much more, I guess, kind of friendly guy. He's really ugly looking. But they are very related to our friends, the lobsters out here, except they don't have claws. So there's really no claw meat. You get the good tail meat at least. And of course you want live ones. You should be able to pick them up and have their tail curl under them. If they're doing this, don't get them. Crab. So there's a large variety of crab that the Japanese eat. Basically, they have 5 pairs of legs and another pair with pincers. And that all varies kind of from species to species. But all live crabs should really be prepared the day they're purchased. Though you can get frozen and canned crab meat. And avoid artificial crab, because it's just gross. I know it's cheap, but get the real stuff. Snow crab. I really love this picture here. Earl, what happened? I'm really sick and twisted too. I'm sorry. But I just can't get the Earl thing out of him. He just went for a bag of ice. What happened? So they're harvested from the cold waters, from the Sea of Japan. And I do? Actually, I think that's Guy Davis. It sounded like him. They are kind of more common in the northern seas too, and they are being fished as far north as Newfoundland, not Newfoundland. I almost said it, and then I caught myself. So, dang it. And yes, so it is the main crop on the deadliest catch. Ooh, this guy is ugly. That's the horsehair crab. He is really spiny and hard to touch. And yeah, so I can't pronounce that word either. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. And yeah, so there you go. The king crab. Although that's not a king crab. Why do I have his picture there? Anyways, he does have a cool looking little pincer there. But that's the king crab, in case you hadn't seen them. So yeah, the largest crabs in the ocean, and oh, I guess maybe that's why I had that picture, because it refers to a large number of species that expand all over through the cold waters of the Pacific. Did I sound official there? Alaska is really well known for its king crab, which is the one we saw on the left. So, roe. Does anybody like fish eggs? Fish eggs, roly-poly fish eggs. No, okay. So we have two different kinds of roe, soft and hard. Soft roe is the male form of the reproductive system, and the hard roe is the eggs from the female. And most roe really is edible, and some of it is kind of toxic to humans, but we try not to buy those. And if you salt it, it then becomes caviar. Just make sure you don't buy cheap caviar. Well, not cheap beluga caviar, because then those are the ones that are... yeah, my brain stopped. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. So, hey, salmon roe. I really just have pictures here because I don't know if you've ever had eggs. They're all kind of, a little bit salty, but not too bad. So that's, of course, the eggs. Herring eggs are really, really tiny, which is why when you get sashimi with it, it takes like bajillions of them to make. That is a very official term, a bajillion. Although less than a hojillion. Pollock roe and flying fish roe. I know we've kind of covered soy products, but we're going to cover them again. I already said that. Why did I say it again? Oh well. Edamame. God, I love edamame. It's just the whole soybean still in its pod. And you just steam them real quick and dip them in kosher salt and then just squeeze them right out between your teeth, and it's the closest thing to God I think I've ever... No, okay. Miso soup. Miso. And that's just the fermented soybean. It's been injected with a mold called koji. And it kind of has the texture of smooth peanut butter and can come in a large variety of colors and flavors. And these are affected by the type of koji that's used. They can, pull it from barley, rice, or from other soybeans. And the amount of salt used and all of that, then it's fermented. Soy sauce. Kikkoman does make good soy sauce, at least, just not teriyaki. So again, it's made by fermenting the boiled soybeans with roasted barley or wheat, and a really strong soy taste, if nobody knew that, I'm sure. Lots of information here. If you're gluten intolerant, you can find some sauces that are called tamari. It's just like soy sauce, but some of them aren't made with wheat. You got to be careful and read the ingredients, but it's good for you. Tofu. A lot of different types of tofu. You got your soft, your firm. I saw some that was ultra soft the other day, and it was almost like, like cream cheese or sour cream. It was really kind of cool. So yeah, soy milk. Tofu. So it's made just like cheese. They let the soybeans curdle in water, and then they sift out the curds and whey, and Little Miss Muffet comes down and no. I'm sorry, usually this panel is much later in the day, so my jokes are better. It has kind of a mild nutty flavor, and many would say bland, but it can really be marinated and pick up the flavor of anything you put into it, so which makes it a lot better. So now we're going to get into some of the more interesting cooking techniques. And unfortunately, my pamphlets have not made it here. Those are all kind of in there too. But so because everything is eaten with chopsticks, it's good to cut it into bite-sized pieces, interestingly enough. A lot of times the vegetables are cut and shaped and then cooked just to a little bit, so they're still kind of crisp, which I love. I don't like soggy vegetables.
I'm talking about the word doneness.
Oh, is that weird?
No.
It makes perfect sense to me. It's a perfectly cromulent word. I do like The Simpsons, sorry. Fish is, of course, filleted and then often thinly sliced, and meat is thinly sliced or ground. So, some of the ones we're going to talk about today is simmering. Okay. Hey, check that out. I made it work for me this time. Simmering, grilling, steaming, frying, and pickling. So, simmering, you don't want to boil. It's just below a boil is a simmer. Hopefully most everybody knows that. But in a big pot of water or broth. Grilling. Direct exposure to a radiant heat such as a fire or a charcoal grill. Otherwise known as broiling sometimes. Steaming. Yeah. These aren't really that difficult, I know. To cook food over boiling water without putting it in it. Yeah, probably the best way to describe it. And do we still have pickling after this? Frying. That one is good. Everybody loves fried food. Most of us love fried food, though it doesn't love us. And pickling. I love Japanese pickles. Has anybody ever been to Domo here in town? A few folks, yeah. You get the fresh pickles every day as your appetizer. It's really nice. So, it is about time, isn't it? Who's tired of listening to me talk? Nobody. Wow. I almost saw half a hand. What? You'll all get out of here and go, oh my God, he wouldn't shut up. That's because I dance. So dashi, it's the most widely used stock in Japan. It's a really lightly flavored seaweed stock made with konbu and the bonito shavings. And miso soup, that's one of the other ones I've got in here. Made from the dashi stock, and we're going to make also a recipe for the kakejiru, which is used as a noodle soup. All right, I don't know if people brought notepads because I don't have my handouts. I'll leave this up here as long as anybody wants if you want to take notes.
You can go online on my YouTube site.
Yeah, that'll work too. So, miso soup, miso, and the kakejiru. Ooh, look at how interesting this is. Yeah, so we're not covering any sushi techniques because I'm not a sushi chef. I'd like to be, but yeah, in Japan it takes a really long time to be a sushi chef. Some folks spend 10 years just making rice. And then up to 20 years before they let you cut fish. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I don't do that. There's our rice recipe, excitement. And then how to cook noodles. Let it come to a boil. Imagine that. That's exciting. I'll leave it up there for another second. All right. So now I'll let you guys talk. And I'll try and have answers, and if not, I'll look like a fool and then ask you to send them to me. So, questions? Oh my gosh. What's my favorite Japanese food to eat? One? God, no. I guess I'd really have to say edamame. I just love it's fun to just scoop the seeds out with my teeth and the flavor and the salt and yeah.